So you might not be an astrology expert, but I'm here to tell you that we have just exited a Mercury retrograde. And if you're watching this show, you probably know enough about astrology to know that you're familiar with what Mercury retrograde is. But for those that are not, it's a time where things just don't go as planned. Your technology goes crazy. I mean, this Mercury retrograde, I think my phone needed an exorcism because it was taking pictures, calling people up. It's in my pocket and it's doing all this weird stuff. Technology things. You lose things. And many people over the years have come to kind of look at Mercury retrograde with a certain sense of dread that, the world is going to blow up around them. But we're out of Mercury retrograde. Thankfully, we are out of Mercury retrograde for this point in time of the year. But surprisingly, we have just entered Saturn retrograde. So tonight on Thursday Night Live, we're going to be talking about Saturn retrograde and what it has in store for all of us. So hello and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. So if you are really unfamiliar with the concept of a retrograde is when a planet starts moving backwards. So we know from physics, a planet cannot really move backwards. They go around the sun and they constantly are going around the sun. But from our perspective here on Earth, it looks like the planet is actually moving back in the sky to a certain point, and then it starts going direct again. And that's what is considered a retrograde. And so now we just got done with having Mars going backwards, and now we have Saturn going backwards. And Saturn has a really strong reputation. It can be harsh or stern. It is considered the planet of responsibility and authority, and it really controls our boundaries and our limitations. And so if you think of Saturn, that's kind of the box it sits in. Where Jupiter is about openness and expansion, Saturn is about control and restraint. And now we have this planet going in retrograde. And so what does that mean? What does that mean for us as we move forward? Because it went retrograde July 26th, and it doesn't go direct again until December 10th. And so we have about 4.5 months of being under this planetary influence. And something I learned today is that Saturn goes retrograde kind of once every year, which was a little astonishing. Where Mercury goes retrograde like 4, 5, 6 times a year. So and so what does this mean? What does this mean for us? And so one of the things that it contains is that Saturn in its direct energy is all about things external to us and working in the world in a physical and substantive way. And when it goes retrograde, it's about taking that energy and turning it inside and working with and for ourselves. So it gives us an opportunity to evaluate our personal rules, our personal structures, what's going on inside us and our relationship to the world around us, and make some updating. So for example, if you are working on boundaries, they might get tested during this period of time. And do you use a new strategy to dealing with your boundaries and pass the test? Or do you go and rely on the old method that you've been doing things and stay where you are? And so it really gives you the opportunity to make some true and deep changes within yourself. And so, so it's a time to review your structure, review your responsibilities and your commitments. And this was interesting because I was putting this together and I was thinking about, our time together over the last few weeks. And there have been quite a few, and those of you that are regulars on the show, I think will agree that there have been a number of readings that have come up where I would make the comment, it's like, slow down. It's like, I feel like you've made a decision, but you don't need to rush it forward. Just allow it to come in, allow it to come to you instead of like jumping in and trying to take charge and take control. Because Saturn in retrograde is about allowing. And so one of the things that they talk about is if what's going on inside of you is solid, like if you have strong boundaries, then that energy dynamic is confirmed within you. But if they're not, then your flaws will be revealed. And I can't read my own handwriting, sorry. Those flaws will be revealed, but in the same breath, if you fail the test, if you don't uphold that boundary that really needed to be expressed, then you have to suffer the consequences of your own poor choices, which sometimes suffering the consequences of your own poor choices is a way for you to make the decision that I'm not going to do that anymore. If one of the things that you've been working on is to quit drinking or quit smoking, this would be a time where you can sit there and explore that within yourself and make firmer commitments to yourself as you move forward. So how do we feel this? How do we navigate this energy, navigate this dynamic? And I'm going to say with mindfulness, so things that don't feel right or that feel restrictive or that just have a funky vibe to you, then maybe these are areas in your life that need your focus and need your attention because there's something that you're trying to break through or shift, because when we experience resistance, there's something that we're not wanting to do. And so that resistance is always a great indicator of what do I need to change? What am I resisting? And what can I do so that I can flow with and flow through that energy better? Some of the advice that I saw, and I thought this was very interesting, and I thought fell into the conversations that we've had on this show before, is patience is the key in a Saturn retrograde. So if you try to do a shortcut, if you try to sit there and force your way, because Saturn is all about rules, responsibility, and control. So if you try to control your way forward, it's not going to work. You'll be penalized. And sometimes it's like that energy is designed to prevent you from doing something or to redirect your energy into a different area. So if you experience resistance, resistance in a certain area of your life, then maybe it's not about pushing through it. Maybe it's time to stop and look and redirect. You don't know how many times I've done sessions with people and they're trying to do something, and the image they keep showing me is, here's a door, and the door is right over there, and they are like just walking into the door jam, and they don't understand why they're not moving forward. And they're close to their destination, and all they need to do is take a step to the left, and they'll get through the door. But you have to stop and reflect a little bit to recognize this isn't working, and I need to take that step to the left. So this is the perfect time and opportunity to look at that and modify and potentially make some changes. In this energy, you may experience some restrictions, some delays, some heaviness. Again, reflection time. And it's a time to honor yourself, honor your commitments, and release those that aren't serving you. So if you've made commitments to participate in some organization or commitments in a relationship, and it's really not serving you, you're not happy, you're not satisfied or resolved in what you're doing anymore, then maybe it's time to acknowledge that and take a step back or a step to the left and move in a slightly different direction. Some suggest that it's that this is a time of individuality, and there's an expectation that there are going to be debates on personal rights versus collective responsibilities. And if you follow politics at all right these days, that seems to be coming up over and over and over again. So I think that, especially on a global level, this is going to be an interesting energy dynamic to watch how it plays out. So I just want to give you, if you're following what's going on in the world, watching how this plays out, I think might be able to give you some more perspective of what's sitting underneath this dynamic. But I would love to know what you think. Have you been being influenced by Saturn retrograde energy in your life? I would love to hear what you have to say with your comments in the chat room or below the video after the show. Anyway, we are going to be back right after.
Exhausted from chasing mystery symptoms?
I'm starting over again.
Are you exhausted from chasing mystery symptoms? Bouncing from doctor to doctor only to be told your labs are perfectly normal? Even though you know deep down that something is very wrong, if you feel stuck, drained, and completely ignored by the traditional system, it's time to look deeper. Perhaps it's time you discovered the transformative work of Dr. Rita Louise. As a naturopathic physician and highly gifted medical intuitive, she bridges the gap between science and spirit, offering answers that conventional medicine often misses. So what exactly is a medical intuitive? Think of it as an energetic MRI. Instead of just treating surface symptoms, Dr. Rita tunes directly into your body's unique energy field. She can see where deep blockages, lifelong imbalances, or trapped emotions are creating real physical pain and illness. What makes her truly unique is that she combines this profound intuitive ability with her formal training as a naturopathic physician. She doesn't just sense the problem, she understands the anatomy and physiology behind it. This powerful combination lets her bypass the guesswork and get straight to the root cause. Whether you need a comprehensive medical intuitive reading, spiritual counseling to break toxic patterns, or distance energy healing to clear deep blockages, Dr. Rita delivers the exact missing pieces you've been searching for. True healing is physical, emotional, and energetic. You don't have to navigate this alone in the dark anymore. Stop guessing with your health. Visit soulhealer.com today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Rita Louise and finally get the answers you deserve.
Okay, so what do you think? Anyway, so before I move on to everything else, please remember, go away, to like and subscribe my different channels, Just Energy Radio on YouTube, Dr. Rita Louise on Substack, Dr. Rita Louise on Twitter, and Psychic Doc on Rumble. I don't know, I'm everywhere pretty much except LinkedIn. But I would love for you to like and subscribe, leave a comment, because that will help me down the road in the algorithms. Okay, so let's see what we got going on. It seems, so here are the rules of engagement. So if you would like, stop it. This thing, I like StreamYard, except that delay. Anyway, if you would like to schedule, all right, I'm going to go back here. Excuse me. So if you want to get a reading, please just go into the chat and say, Hey, Dr. Rita, your hair looks amazing. Even if it doesn't, just lie to me. Humor me here. And then say, I would like a number 3, or give me a number between 1 and 3, and that's how many times I will shuffle the cards on your behalf and then pull a card and give you a reading. Now, if there's a lot of people in the chat room and you're afraid that you're not going to get your reading, or you want your reading right now because you got to leave, you can go to soulhealer.com/live. That's soulhealer.com/live. And you can jump the line, and I will hear a little chime on my computer, which will let me know that you're waiting in line and you get to be read next. If you have a specific questions like, Dr. Rita, what's going on in my relationship? Or, hey, there's something weird going on at work. What do you think? Also, soulhealer.com/live, click the Ask Dr. Rita button, and it will give you an opportunity to put in a question. And while you're there, if you're enjoying the show, you get an excellent reading, you liked my intro, whatever, you can leave a little something, something in the tip jar. All righty. So our first, and I'm going to grab a lozenger. Okay. Our first person up today is ERRT Radio, and he says, happy Thursday, Dr. Rita, and your hair looks amazing again. Thank you. I have a reading number 3. Okay. And that's your card for today, ERRT Radio. So ERRT Radio, I get the impression that there is, and I'm going to say, a problem that is before you. There's an issue, a situation that you're trying to figure out. I feel like it's not... that it's not something that is seeming overwhelming. I guess I just want to be clear on that. It doesn't seem overwhelming, but I feel like it has kind of a lot of moving parts, and you're trying to like figure out or coordinate or organize, or, you know, come with up with a sequence of events to come up with a solution for this problem. I feel like actually the commentary is, I feel like this has actually been very good for you because it has caused you to kind of come back into your body and re-engage in your intuitive space, which I know you have. And I feel like it feels good to you because I feel like you haven't been able to access that space as well lately. I don't think any of us have been able to access that space real well lately, but I feel like it has given you the opportunity to get back there, and I bet that feels good. Yay. Okay. And we have Poonja. She's here early today. Hey, Miss Poonja. And she says, hello, Dr. Rita. I hope you are doing happy face. May I have a message number 3, please? You sure can. All right, and that's your card for today. Okay, so Poonja, I don't know how this card relates to that at all, but so I am feeling, so I mean, I felt into your energy, and I feel like there's something going on that you are feeling, I'm going to say, fearful about. I feel like you kind of have your energy pulled back because you're not sure you want to interact with what's going on out there because it doesn't feel safe. I feel like there's this issue of it doesn't feel safe. I'm not going to make commentary like you should do this or you should do that. I feel like you are reacting in an appropriate way right now. I feel like you don't know enough about that to make you feel comfortable enough to not be on guard. And I'm not feeling like your hesitancy, maybe is a good word, is necessarily inappropriate for what you're feeling from out there, that stuff. I mean, we're people, we've all experienced things in our lives. Sometimes we have some trust issues, but I don't get the impression, Poonja, that your trust issues are over the top and you don't trust anybody and you don't trust anything. And I feel like, I don't know, you're just getting a bad vibe. Honor the bad vibe, and honor the bad vibe until you don't experience that bad vibe anymore. And you're fairly new, but I used to talk a lot about, putting people and situations and events in purgatory, where you still engage, but they're over there and you don't necessarily give them a ton of your energy, and things are going on and things are happening, but there's a certain level of detachment that is happening, so you can be there and participate, but also be in observer mode so that you're not sucked into the whole thing. So I don't think what I'm seeing about you is inappropriate for what I'm evaluating from this situation, and I do want to honor and validate the feelings that you're receiving, and you at least listening to them and honoring them and reacting to them. Okay. And we have Miss Wave Lady, and she says, good evening, Dr. Rita and friends. I have a 2 tonight. Thanks. And you sure can, Miss Wave Lady. Okay, and that's your card for today. I don't know. I guess I'm just feeling that you feel a little bit tired. I'm not feeling like there's anything particularly wrong with you, but just that you're tired. I would maybe use exhausted as that word. So this card usually talks about like guides and guidance and spirit and whatever. And I just want to say to you, Miss Wave Lady, you're never really alone. And if you need help, if you need assistance to help you not be exhausted all the time, maybe you need to put that out into the universe that it's okay for something or somebody to come in and give you aid. And it's not that you're asking somebody, you're just putting out that vibe because you just never know. And if somebody comes and says, hey, I'll help you with that, or, whatever, please accept it, because that's the universe speaking back to you. Okay. And as always, if this makes sense, I would love to hear your comments below. And we have Miss Amy, and she says, hi, Dr. Rita, happy Thursday. May I have a number 1 reading, please? Thank you. You sure can, Miss Amy. Okay, and that's your card for today. And Amy, if you could like put a little thing about how I was going to say Eric. It is not Eric. How Austin is doing. I have girlfriends that have kids that are about Austin's age, and so like every other kid's first name came into my mind. Austin. How Austin is doing. Okay, and here's your card for oh, I did that right. Here's your card for today. So I get the impression that you're kind of tired of waiting, and I feel like you're getting a little bit of cabin fever. You know, and Amy, what they want me to say to you is just breathe. I feel like there is something like percolating out there that it's working its way to you. I feel like you kind of have been getting like the slight, and I mean super slight twinges tied to it. Excuse me. But it's not ready yet. You know, and they are just suggesting that you spend this time working on yourself, you know, and working on your boundaries and working on your happiness and working on your detachment. Because that's going to come. The other stuff is going to come. And so if you have nothing else to do, and I think this would be a really great use of your time for you to do that inner work now that we are in this period of reflection and responsibility and inner work. Okay. Hey, puppy. All right, let's see. And we have Pearl in the house. Hey, Pearl, and says, hi, Thursday nighters. I'm here for Dr. Rita's gorgeous hair. May I please have a reading with a shuffle of 2? Thanks. You sure can, Pearl. Okay, let's see what they have to say. Okay, and so you got a mask card. So this usually represents something that you don't want to look at, or you're in denial about, or, you know, there's some resistance or a blockage. So I am just going to pull. Okay. Okay, so you had 2 cards, and then this was your final card, the clearing card. And it's interesting because I feel like there's something going on in your life that I'm going to say you need to make a decision about. You know, really, it's more of a choice. I'm feeling like maybe you're not so thrilled with the choice. I don't know. I just keep getting this energy that you're trying to push it through, that you're trying to make it be this way. You want it to be this way. And Pearl, it ain't going to work that way. So fighting it, resisting it, trying to make it happen ain't happening. And the word for you is surrender. What will be, will be. And just allow what needs to happen, because I'm feeling like no amount of fighting is going to make it pass. But as soon as you let it go, it will start flowing again. I mean, the energy is just really feeling stuck right now, and you're making it be stuck because you're trying to be the decider, and you can't be the decider. It's not a your decider thing. So let it go, allow it to happen. I don't think the outcome is going to be bad. I think it's been more challenging being in the resistance and the fighting of the energy that has been more challenging than having what this is manifest and you moving through it. No, I really, let me know on that one. Okay. All right. And it's Ohora. Hey, Miss Ohora. And she says, hello, dear Dr. Rita. Good to be at your presence. May I have your wisdom revelation on number 3, please? Thank you indeed. Many blessings be with you. Cheers to you. Thank you, Miss Ohora. And we're doing a 3. Okay. All right, and that's your card for today. So, Ohura, I'm sure you were listening, and I was just talking about surrender, and I feel like that there are things that have been going on in your life. Okay, so, in Pearl's situation, I feel like it's more of a specific thing. For you, Ohura, I feel like this has been more of a life journey for you. And I feel like surrender has been the operative word. I get the impression that you have been really doing good at just letting go and allowing life to happen and not getting hung up on every little glitch and thing that's going on, because it's not anything that you can do to change it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Now, what's funny is you're showing me this kind of wave pattern, and it's pretty calm and smooth. And then every so often, there's this little Ohura head that sticks up out of the water and goes, oh, oh, oh. And then you catch it and go, oh, wait a minute, I'm surrendering it. And you go back under the water. If you were in my head, you would be kind of cracking up. I mean, I wish I was a good drawer, and I would draw this picture for you, but that's what was in my head, if you can imagine it. I don't know. So hopefully that image is being representative of what's going on in your life. But I feel like there has been a profound shift from wanting to control and understand everything and coordinate it to trying to be in the flow, has really happened, and there's these remnants of, I want to know, and I want to have everything figured out. All right, hang on. I heard a little chime. Maybe there's something good. Oh, okay. Well, sweet. 6:31. Sweet. Somebody just booked a consultation. Yay. Maybe my commercial worked. Did you like my commercial? Okay, it was my first experiment in doing actually a person AI. It's okay. I think it's kind of wordy. I wanted it to be a little longer, but now watching it like for real in real time, it's kind of wordy. So it'll be here for a little bit, but I'm going to be redoing it, and she takes breaks. Anyway, I'll figure it out. Okay, and Miss Yvonne's here. Hey, Yvonne, and she says, hi, Dr. Rita. You look so pretty. Thank you. Can I get a reading number 2, please? You sure can, Yvonne. Okay, and that's your card for today. So Yvonne, all right, this is going to sound really weird, and I haven't really gone here, particularly in sessions on the show, I don't think, but I get the impression that you have had some limiting beliefs come up for you, and limiting beliefs are often tied to that inner critic that's like, you suck, you're fat, oh my God, look at your thighs, blah, 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 your hair is a mess, whatever, but I feel like some limiting beliefs have been coming up for you, but you have been noticing them as limiting beliefs or the dialogue of your inner critic. And I get the impression that you have started challenging some of that voice or those ideas and going, well, where the hell did that come from? And why do I even think that? And, and to me, understanding and recognizing and pointing out things like that, the awareness of things like that is 50% to changing those things. Because I feel like that commentary and that programming, has just sat in the background and pretty much ran the show. And I don't necessarily mean in every area of your life, but we can have limiting beliefs that have been there forever, even though we do all this work on ourselves, you know, that have just been there for a really long time. And I feel like there are some that are coming up that are kind of, they're surprising you. I mean, I feel like there's some surprise to this whole revelation, but I feel like in the revelation, there's healing. So if they're bothering you, don't sweat it. You're aware of them. Now you can do the work to change them. Okay, let's see. And it's Don. Hey, Don. And he says, hi, Dr. Rita. Hope you are ready for tonight. Can I get a reading number 3? You sure can, Don. And I am ready for tonight because I'm here and I have makeup on. All right, Don, let's see what we got. All righty, and that's your card for today. Don, 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 what am I going to do with you? Why do you beat yourself up like for everything? I mean, I feel like you have yet again run into a reoccurring pattern in your life, not the rabbit hole. So that's good, but just this energy, kind of like what I was just saying to Yvonne. Who was I just saying that to? Yeah, to Yvonne. You know, that has come to the surface. And I feel like, you know, you're seeing it, or that dynamic or that energy is coming up. But instead of addressing it as, oh, it's here, it's giving me the opportunity to change it and shift it, you're beating yourself freaking up for it. Stop, Don. Stop doing that. Like Yvonne, use it as an opportunity to go, wow, that's some old programming. What can I do? Is it true? I mean, there's that part. Is it true? Is that statement that you're making, and this is to you, Yvonne, too, is that statement that I'm making to myself true? Because if it's true, you know, like people used to call me a weirdo. I freaking own weirdo 100% of the way. I mean, there's a lot of things you could say to me that I'd be pissed off. But if you want to call me a weirdo, I own it. You know, it used to upset me before. It doesn't bother me anymore. You know, and so is it true? You know, are you a weirdo? Is that, whatever it is it true? And if it's true, own it. Don't be ashamed of it. Just own it. And if it's not true, then what do you need to do to get that out of your life? Get that thought and belief out of your life. Dawn. All right. And Christine is here. Hey, Christine. And she says, hello, can I get a reading number 2, please? And thank you. And you sure can. Okay, now the cards are like, they're not cooperating. Okay, and I just kind of like looked ahead. So Christine, I'm coming right back to you. So Jerry, I see that you have oh no, you have a number. Never mind. Cancel that, Jerry. I'll be with you in a second. All right, so Christine, ooh, that's your card for today. Actually, I go, ooh, but sometimes this isn't a bad card. So Christine, I just get the feeling that you've kind of put the period at the end of a sentence. I feel like there has been stuff that has just been, I'm going to say, tormenting you and driving you crazy, and that you have been trying to push out of your life. And I feel like you finally made the decision that you're done. I don't feel like the situation has, like, that they're totally gone and everything has been worked out one way or the other. But I feel like internally you are done and you are just waiting for it to change or trying to figure out how to make that final step to transmute, ooh, I like that, to transmute the situation into something healthier. Because I feel like you are done with the toxicity. I feel like you have done so much work on yourself that you just can't be around that anymore. You know, but how do you make that communication to people that don't realize that they're toxic? Yeah, that. You're doing good. Saying no is good. Okay. All right. Now we have I think it's Jairus. I was wondering if success as an author, and I don't necessarily mean sales white, might ever come for me. If you're doing readings, number 3, please. Thank you. All right, Jairus. So I'm just going to do a number 3. If you want to ask that question, I would need for you to go to soulhealer.com/live and hit the Ask Dr. Rita button, and I'll be more than happy to answer that question directly. All right, and that's your card for today. So Jairus, I mean, it's really kind of interesting. So I'm usually pretty nosy, and I'm not often blocked by people's energy. But when I look at you, you just keep giving me this like white screen. You don't really want me to look behind it. I'm going to make the assumption that what is sitting behind it, you don't want people to see. There might be a lot of shame around it and tied to it. All right, I am going to say there's a lot of shame around it and tied to it, and you really don't want me to look, and you definitely don't want me to like spread that out on the air. You know, so my commentary to you, you know, whether this is about your books or anything else, is to sit there and address the feelings of shame, to make it where, you know, your past is your past and you can't change any of that. All you can do is come to terms with it and then move forward in a better position, in a better life, in a new and healed you. I mean, hopefully, you know, you let that go, but you actually become a better person, you know, or you are a better person. And so who you were or who you thought you were is kind of a moot point because that's not who you are now. So I hope that makes sense. And all you guys, I'm waiting to get feedback here. Okay, and also it is getting to the Q2 point. So I just want to remind you, if I haven't gotten a reading for you yet, we're getting close on time. Last week, I cut a lot of people off. And so if you want to make sure you get a reading, I would encourage you to jump the line by going to soulhealer.com/live and hitting that jump the line link to become next. Okay. And we have L. I don't have my glasses on, and so it looks like Liiio. I'm just going to call you Lee. I don't know. You. It says, hi, Dr. Rita. May I ask for a card number 1? You sure can. Okay, so Dylan, same thing for you. If you want to get a reading with a specific question, you need to go to soulhealer.com/live and do the Ask Dr. Rita Louise. If not, you need to just give me a number between 1 and 3. Okay, Lee, sorry. Okay, I'm going to do that again. Number 1, since I got ahead of myself here. Okay, you have a Mass card, which means that you have some energy that you don't want to look at or is kind of blocked. Okay, so not too bad, just 2 cards. That's your clearing card, so that's the one I'm going to read. Okay, so I wasn't expecting to go here, but I'm going to go here. So I get the impression that you have, and I'm going to say, some self-identity concerns. There's like you're not really sure who you are and how you operate. I feel like one of your goals or one of the things that you want is to feel more whole and more connected. Um, we're kind of on a little bit of a theme here, I think, tonight. I want to make the commentary that I feel like there has been a lot, and I'm going to say a lot of past programming that has identified who you are. And I would like to challenge that programming because I feel like who they say you are is not necessarily who you are. And I feel like you're hitting juxtaposition of, well, this is how I feel inside, but this is what people reflect back to me about who I am. And they're not aligning. It's creating some cognitive dissonance. And so while you can take that as thinking material and potential advice, I would not take that as this is who I am, at least not off the surface, or you know what I mean. All right, you're a little on the bottom. All right, let's see. All right, so Dylan, not going to answer your question. You need to like go do the Dr. Rita thing because you didn't ask for a number. So I'm moving on. Thank you, ERRT Radio. All right, so then Nancy said you can contact her to get a personal reading. She will share it with you. Yeah. So there's in this show, you can do the Ask Dr. Rita, or you can go to my webpage, soulhealer.com, and set up a time for a private consultation where we can sit down and actually have an in-depth conversation. Would love to hear from you. Okay, let's see. All right, and so we have Nancy, and she says, hi, Dr. Rita, your hair looks amazing like always, and I have a 1 shuffle today. Thank you, you sure can. Nancy. Okay, that's your card for today. So Nancy, I just get the impression that there's a part of you that would like to, oh, let me get rid of that, would like to do some Italian sign language to people. I just get the impression that life has been just too turbulent around you. I feel like you're not having fun, you're not liking it. I feel like you just want to hide and escape from what is going on. And from what I'm seeing and kind of the whirlwind around you, that doesn't necessarily seem inappropriate at this time, especially if you're using the time for self-healing, you know, doing some meditating or grounding or reading a good book or exercising or going for a walk to help bring you back to you and bring you back to center, versus being in a place where you're just ruminating about it and about like how life sucks and how everything's terrible. I don't get that impression. I feel like you don't often kind of go into isolation mode very often. And I feel like maybe that's the piece that's upsetting you the most, or you're not understanding the most. But it seems appropriate now. I feel like you have so much of other people's energy in your space that you really just need to discharge so that you can get your own energy back and get those tentacles of everybody else out of you. Okay. That was Nancy. And we have Ryu. Sorry, no phonic skills. I'm going to call you Gray because that's what it makes me think of. Dr. Rita, may I have a card number? Well, you're going to get a number 3, not 33, but 3. And yes, you can. Okay. And that just came up. That's your card for today. I mean, I'm kind of sensing a very similar energy for you, that you're just kind of sick and tired. Yours is a little more, I'm going to say, global in nature. I feel like you feel like things are messed up. I feel like you would like to just go and hide, but you can't do it. Like you're too responsible, and you know, you can't escape to a quiet, private island. You know, I mean, that's not there. And so you're trying to just navigate what's going on. I am going to say breathing is definitely involved. And anything that you can do to nurture yourself, self-love to yourself, you know, give yourself the time and the time to be you. Maybe like get off social media and turn the TV off and just get some quiet time for you. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Amy says, since you all want to know, so thank you for that. Biggest challenge is all work, no play. Thank you for the reading tonight. We'll keep on working on myself. Okay, Amy, thank you. Yvonne said, good reading. Thank you. And it's Marco. Hey, Marco. And then Dawn says, Dr. Rita, sometimes I think you are watching me from afar. I am, Dawn. I am. I have flock cameras outside every one of your houses. I have been beating myself up a bit lately. Thank you. But Dawn, don't. Just stop it. Okay. Marco, you kill me. And Gray, it's all good. And you said 33, and I was never going to do a 33. And I said, but there's a 3. There's a 3 in that number, so I'm just going to do 3. And if you didn't like 3, well, you were going to get a 3. So it's all good. And I got to that before I got to that other stuff. So it's all good. We're all good here. Okay. All right. Yeah, did that. ERRT Radio says, great show and topic, Dr. Rita. My reading was on point again. You have a great weekend. See you next time. Thank you, ERRT Radio. All righty. So Marco's going to come visit me and then go visit ERRT Radio. All righty. All right, guys. Well, I am surprisingly at the end of the list. So I want to thank you all for coming to the show tonight. Again, if you would like to schedule a private consultation, I would love to hear from you. I don't know. I love you guys. I'm so grateful that you come every week and hang out with me and get your readings and We get to play and laugh and joke around. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. So till next week, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Thursday Night Live. Be blessed.